Hey everyone, and welcome to today's Explainer. We are skipping the small talk and jumping straight into the deep end today. We're peeling back the layers of the daily mainstream headlines to examine the systemic clash that is, according to recent geopolitical analysis, truly defining our era. What we're witnessing on the global stage right now is far more profound than what you just catch on the evening news. We're going to break this down strictly through an impartial, analytical lens so we can understand the actual mechanics of this completely new global reality.
Okay, let's dive into this. The big question anchoring all the source material we're looking at today is simply this. What is the true nature of the current global conflict? Well, the analysis suggests that we are completely missing the mark if we just look at this as a traditional war between nations or some debate over political ideologies. What's happening right now is a fundamental structural collision of two entirely different, incompatible realities. It's literally a tectonic shift in how power is exercised on a planetary scale.
Section 1. Battle for Eurasia. To understand this collision, we first need to strip away all the ideological rhetoric and look at the macro geopolitical reality. To really grasp this, we have to look back at the grand strategists. Take Zbigniew Brzezinski, who famously wrote, "For America, the chief geopolitical prize is Eurasia. The primary interest is to help ensure that no single power comes to control this geopolitical space." You see, strategists like Brzezinski and Halford Mackinder before him viewed the world through the lens of the heartland. The sources argue that the current global tension isn't about democratic versus authoritarian ideals at all. Instead, it's essentially a ruthless, calculated struggle for control over this massive, resource-rich Eurasian landmass. It's all about physical dominance. Every day, the surface narrative bombards us with this constant media drumbeat of a clash of ideologies. But the geopolitical reality is so much more pragmatic. Now, why does this matter to you? Well, because traditional states are fighting for survival, demanding to be recognized as equals in a multipolar world. Meanwhile, the opposing strategy is specifically designed to prevent any single competitor from rising up and uniting that Eurasian space. It's a massive, high-stakes scheme of resource control and structural dominance. Section 2. Privatization of the state by capital. The analysis actually goes a layer deeper here, revealing that the very mechanics of global power have fundamentally shifted. Now, what's really interesting about this timeline is the chillingly rapid evolution of a company called Palantir. Get this. It started in 2002 as a simple PayPal anti-fraud algorithm. By 2004, it snagged crucial seed funding from the CIA's venture capital arm, In-Q-Tel. In 2008, they launched Gotham to track terror networks. Fast forward to today, and this private company's software manages everything from modern military targeting to the national healthcare data of millions. The sources argue that the modern state apparatus, particularly in the US, has essentially been privatized. It functions as an instrument for transnational tech capital. Big tech and the intelligence community have basically merged, turning software into the literal operating system of government and war. And that brings us to a frankly terrifying metric: 120 seconds. According to the strategic documents we're analyzing, this number represents the modern military kill chain timeline. Basically, AI algorithms are processing massive amounts of data, from commercial satellites orbiting the Earth right down to your social media activity, to identify and select targets in under 2 minutes. This insane speed completely removes the human in the loop. It means complex life and death decisions are being outsourced to predictive algorithms with an accepted margin of error, reducing human beings to nothing more than algorithmic variables. Section 3. Collapse of the Westphalian System. This privatization of war and power leads us directly to the absolute climax of today's explainer. So, for centuries, our world has been built on what's called the institutional Westphalian vertical. Think sovereign states, clear borders, codified laws, and predictable bureaucracy. The source analysis points out a critical error traditional powers are making today. They keep looking across the ocean for a classic sovereign state opponent in Washington. But actually, scratch that, they're missing the point entirely. What they're really fighting is a decentralized, transnational network that simply doesn't play by state rules anymore. The contrast between these two worlds is just stark. Under the old Westphalian system, you had codified laws and official institutions that, theoretically anyway, protected citizens. But in this emerging system, what the sources term digital neo-feudalism, those traditional laws are being dismantled. What replaces them? Opaque AI algorithms and arbitrary corporate terms of service, dictated by giant tech monopolies. We are rapidly moving from a world of predictable legal procedures straight into a space of algorithmic chaos, where traditional rights simply vanish.
Section 4. The Era of Digital Neo-Feudalism. Let's dig a bit deeper into the philosophical and practical implications of this massive shift.
And this brilliantly illustrates the dynamic we're talking about. You have this decentralized, transnational, high-tech gathering casting a massive shadow over the crumbling ruins of traditional manual command centers. Basically, borderless technological capital is overpowering the slow, paper-bound machinery of traditional nation-states. Let's look at the exact definition derived from the texts. Digital neo-feudalism is a system where transnational capital and AI algorithms usurp state sovereignty. What you should really take away from this is how intensely personal it is. It means your behavioral patterns, your location, your medical data, even your evolutionary biology are being treated as raw resources by global monopolies, like editable software. The classic idea of a citizen is being transformed into a mere data point, governed by a corporate user agreement. Section 5, Survival Strategy and Sovereignty. So, faced with this algorithmic war of attrition, how does a traditional state actually survive? Well, in a world entirely mapped and monitored by artificial intelligence, physical survival requires absolute technological sovereignty. Institutions like Russia's NPP Gamma, for example, are stepping in to act as an industrial shield. They're creating physical and electromagnetic barriers, literally blocking data leaks and radio emissions to intentionally blind the algorithmic intelligence of systems like Palantir. This is how you protect critical state and military infrastructure from that 120-second kill chain.
So the crucial point here is this 4-step survival formula laid out in the analysis. First, secure critical infrastructure, physically, even putting it underground. Second, establish absolute, strict technological data sovereignty. Third, merge the military and civilian economies to ensure you have dual-use technology and rapid adaptation. And fourth, cultivate a totally new culture of patriotism and trust. It's about uniting the army and society into a single, cohesive defense social contour. The sources make it clear. To counter centralized AI, you absolutely need decentralized networks of highly trusted, patriotic humans who can operate outside standard, predictable bureaucracy.
Which brings us to our final and, honestly, pretty provocative thought. As the traditional Westphalian state collides head-on with this wave of digital neo-feudalism, we have to ask ourselves, in the war of the future, will humanity be governed by the rule of law and human institutions, or by the algorithms and terms of service of the highest bidder? It is a huge geopolitical shift that alters the very definition of what it means to be a citizen in the modern world. Thank you for joining me on this explainer today. Keep asking questions, and I'll catch you next time.